So my dad was born during the Great Depression. He was a child during the Great Depression, but it really didn't change the way that his family and the way that he grew up, even after the Depression ended. They were still fairly poor and had to depend upon everything that they put up themselves and raised in order to eat. And I have wanted to get my dad to come on camera to share his stories first person with you guys rather than just through me. And a few years back, I was able to get him to come on the podcast, but I've not been able to get him to come on video. He is, he doesn't use computers. He doesn't use a smartphone. He is as old-fashioned as you can get. But I finally got him to agree that we could go on video. So I'm hoping that once he sees the cameras, he still lets us get this on video. So I'm on my way. We're gonna go pick him up and take him over to the original homestead that he lived at as a kid, except we have to see that the creek isn't too high because we've had a lot of rain and that it's actually passable. So I'm hoping, one, he'll come on camera with us, and two, that we can get over there. You driving or am I driving? Who's driving?
I don't know.
Well, you taught me how to drive. Are you confident?
Well, you run over the cows too.
But you taught me to do that.
No.
Yeah, if they don't get out of the way, you gotta nudge them.
Yeah, if we want to go across the creek, you'd probably should have a four-wheel drive.
Okay.
You feel safe with her driving?
No. Maybe not. Maybe not. So we've always called the place the Homestead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what year did you guys, because when you first came here from North Carolina, right, with Grandpa and Grandma, you guys didn't first come to the Homestead, right? Didn't you guys go somewhere else at the very beginning?
Oh, we lived at Marble Mount for quite a year or so.
For a little bit. And then during the war, wasn't Grandpa at a mill that he had to stay at? Was that down around Mount Rainier?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was during World War II that he had to stay there, and if he did, then he wouldn't get drafted in. Is that right?
Right.
About how long were you guys down there?
Oh, probably a couple of years.
And so then...
I went to school down there. I started school down there when I was 6 years old.
So once the war ended, then you guys came back up here and you settled at the homestead where we're going right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I used to walk from the homestead to Rockport to go to school.
That's a long ways. Do you know how many miles do you think that is?
It's about 3 miles.
About 3 miles?
Yeah.
And how far back do you think the house is from the road right here on the gravel road? How far do you think that is?
Oh, it's close to a mile.
It's about a mile?
Yeah.
Well, you can make land and go open that gate if you want.
Oh,
You got it?
I can get that.
So when you guys first moved in here, was that highway even here, or was that just a small little road?
No. It was just Seattle City Light called it the transmission line road.
Yeah.
From Rockport. They only had 3 cables on the wooden posts that went to Seattle.
Oh, wow. And Seattle from here is about 2 hours. I'm not sure how many miles it is, but it's about a good 2-hour drive.
Oh, yeah.
There wasn't even the bridge. It was just the ferry because the bridge didn't come in until quite a ways later.
61.
Is when the bridge was put in. So prior to that, it was all just on the ferry.
Yeah, I used to run the ferry there. And then I drove a gravel truck for the county for 8 hours, and then I run the ferry till midnight.
You didn't get much sleep back in the day, did you?
No.
No.
You had to do a little bit of everything to make ends meet then.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to make that creek.
You don't think so?
Oh, you might.
You want to drive through the creek? You want to take us through?
You want to put it in 4-wheel drive.
We locked in?
Yep, I think we are.
Okay. So just best path is straight through?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's not any big holes that I need to know about? I'll find them.
Oh, you'll find them.
We'll find them? Okay. How deep do you think that is? Looks like it's deepest right there.
I just go right straight across.
Okay. Everybody knows how to swim, right?
Don't stop.
Okay. Oh, I'm glad we had 4-wheel. Tell you what. Woo-wee! Good job, Betsy. Now, am I remembering right? Didn't you say when you were little and there was the other families living out here that you opened a little store or something out here?
Yeah, it was set right up on the bank there.
And so how old were you then?
Oh, I was about 14, 15.
So you've always been an entrepreneur. So what did you have in your store?
Oh, a little bit of everything. Candy mostly. Pop.
Yeah. So did you just buy it from the other store and then you just would sell it
Oh, they
here?
give me a special price.
Oh, you were a charmer too. So you charmed the store to get it at wholesale and then you sold it over here, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they at one time there was 1, 2, 7 families lived in here.
Now, did they own all pieces of the land and then Grandpa bought the
No.
land from them later, or Grandpa owned the land and then they had, how did that
Well,
work?
your great-grandpa, or great-grandpa, he never owned any land in here.
Oh.
No.
So who owned it? It was just like a leasing agreement or rent, or how did that work?
It was squatters.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
And then I had survey 40 acres all the way around here, all around this property here.
Oh.
And then I finally got a deed for it.
Wow.
You can go on the upper end if you want.
Want to go, and then we'll just circle back to the house?
Yeah.
Okay. So when all the other families were living over here back in the day, did you guys just kind of like help one another, or everybody just kind of had their own garden and their own livestock, or did you guys share resources, or how did that work?
Well, like when we lived here, there was a Chapin cabin, which I'll show you where it stood. And that was, and then there was the honeymoon cabin that was behind us back there.
Okay.
Where you took a left.
If we would have went right, it would have been over there.
Yeah. And then right on just back of that little tree right there, that little apple tree, that's where the Chapin cabin was built. And it was 7.5-foot logs stood on end.
Oh, really? Instead of being laying down horizontal, they were upright?
Right.
Wow. Now, did they build that while you were here, or when you guys came here, it was already built?
No, it was already built.
It was already there?
Yeah.
And that was right here on the knoll, right behind the tree?
Yeah. Right where those ferns are.
Now, were there other houses out here? Or was
No.
the Chapin one the furthest one out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 houses that was occupied before we moved in.
Okay. So by the time you guys moved in here at the Homestead house, how many of those homes were there still people living in when you guys lived here?
Oh, about 3.
Okay. So like the Chapin cabin was one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, with the way that the river's changed since then, has the river moved this way, or was this about the way it was back then that you had all of this
No,
forest
it's moved
and
this
stuff?
way.
So there was actually more area to hunt
Yeah.
than there is now on this piece.
And then you'll take a left here.
Left? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, back then, didn't Grandpa, like during the winter months, like trapping was still a trade at that time, right? When you were little, didn't Grandpa
Yeah, him
do
and
trapping?
Ralph Buchanan, they walked in. It was a 9-mile walk into Labatt Lake, and they went up there and trapped marten.
Wow.
A good pelt then on marten would bring about $80.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Well, that was some good money back then.
Oh yeah.
I mean, $80 still isn't something to sneeze at, but back then, I don't even know what the equivalent would have been. Well, aside from the hunting and Grandpa doing the trapping, what did you guys do? Very much like foraging or wild harvest, like getting food from the forest, or was it more just what you cultivated in the garden?
Oh, we raised 3 or 4 pigs a year, and we had, like I told you before, we had 4 or 5 milk cows, and we staged them so we'd have fresh milk all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we raised our own beef, and we had a locker in Rockport, and you could rent a little space about 4 by 3, and that's where you kept your meat.
So you could actually just rent refrigerator space and a cooler locker
Yeah.
Was it part of the general store or a different?
No.
Well, was there power on this side of the river
Yeah.
at that point? Just not to everybody just didn't have it yet.
It went up the Martin Road there.
Okay. And so then if you were further out than that, then you didn't have access to it.
Things were quite a bit different then.
You think for better or worse, or just different?
Well, I think it was for better. It was hard times then. I can remember when Dad, he worked for about $5 or $6 a day.
A day.
A day.
So that's less than $1 an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys back then, because you said you guys had chickens too, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
Big chicken coop?
Yeah. We basically raised everything we ate, except salt, sugar, stuff like that.
Yeah. Flour. Now, did Grandma grind her own cornmeal from the corn? Because I know
No.
Grandma did a lot more with cornmeal and cornbread. She did some with flour, biscuits and whatnot, but she didn't really make a lot of bread
Yeah.
itself. So she did buy the flour and cornmeal too then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she would not use yellow cornmeal. She said that was cow feed.
So she'd only use the white?
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, and when Grandma had her mind set on something, that was that. So this house never has had electricity other than there's a little bit of wire we could hook up to a battery, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you could put a generator right on those wires and light that, but you'd have to change the bulbs in the... See, it's got DC bulbs in it now.
Okay.
And I had it fixed at one time so you could just pull in and plug in to the front of the car.
To go off the battery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's never been any electricity lines out here then.
The county says it was built back in 1900.
Oh, okay. So it's 120 years old.
Oh yeah.
There's not many of them around here still standing.
Yeah. I put the metal roof on it, and
So originally it had a shake roof on it?
yeah. See, and then right over the hill there was a hole dug, and Dad fixed it up pretty good. It was water and it was about so deep, and that's where Mom kept the milk.
Was right over this hill here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a little spring house then, like a dugout spring house, because it had the water in there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it locked?
No.
No, we can go on in.
No, you can go in.
Oh, she doesn't even stick. Pretty smooth opening. I said she opened pretty smooth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So was the wood stove always right here? I mean, there's...
No.
Where was that originally?
The chimney that's there was right about here. And this was a bedroom.
Oh.
And then there was 3 bedrooms going in. I put that door in.
You did?
Yeah.
So where originally, how did you enter into that bedroom?
You had a door in the kitchen there.
That went into there instead?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So then that part you opened up to be as part of the living room later?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there was 2 bedrooms upstairs. Well, actually 1. It was
kind of like the main attic.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So originally the wood stove went right here. So this was just the living room part because that was a bedroom, and then there was this.
Well,
stove.
at one time this was the kitchen.
Oh.
And then Dad changed it because Mom, she got tired of people coming through the kitchen to get to the living room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then you guys flipped it.
Yeah.
I see. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm getting a good history lesson here. If I ever get my house plumbed for propane instead of electricity, I think this stove would look really good in my kitchen. Don't you think?
Yeah, probably would.
Probably would. Probably look pretty good. I got that on camera. That's on record, y'all. So, so did they have to put the chimney in, or there was already a chimney back here?
No, that was already here.
Okay, because they already had two stoves for the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grandma did all the cooking on a wood stove, or did you have? Yeah.
It was
everything was done.
She
by wood.
had a big stove. It was called a Kalamazoo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it had a 10-gallon water tank on it.
Oh, so that was how you could just heat your water from right there.
And that's what we took a bath in.
Was from that 10 gallons of hot water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And wasn't that your chore? That was your chore, you kids, is to have all the kindling and stuff ready for Grandma in the morning to cook with?
Oh, yeah. We had to carry the wood in, which was through that door.
Now, when you were growing up, obviously you guys didn't have television here.
No.
Because there's no electricity, but you did listen to the radio, right? So that was kind of your only form of entertainment was that, or...
Yeah, the Lone Ranger, different ones.
The Lone Ranger.
Tano.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did Grandpa have... Did you just listen to it by battery? It was just battery operated because there wasn't electricity at all.
No.
Yeah. So it's just battery operated. So you probably only turned it on right when you knew a specific show was coming on for the most part to conserve the batteries?
We got about, half hour in the evening we could listen to the radio.
Yeah. Hear that, Landon? Half hour of entertainment only.
It ran on batteries.
He's not in agreement with us. I think that was pretty good.
Yeah. One time Dad didn't come home, and Mom said she come in, and that was my bedroom in there.
That one was? That room?
Yeah, and Mom's was right there. There was a door right there that went through. And she said, your dad didn't come home last night. And I said, well, what does that mean? Well, she said, your horse didn't come home either. So I went out looking for it, and there was probably 2 foot of snow on the ground.
Ooh.
And I got out to where the highway 530 is now. I could see something black down there. And of course there was, like I said, 2 foot of snow. And I knew enough that bears and stuff did not come out in wintertime. They hibernate. So I kept looking down there, and then I got brave enough to walk on down the little gravel road to see what it was. And Dad had got the horse down, and he was curled around him. So I got him up, and I finally got him to walk home.
Got the horse to come home?
Yeah.
So the horse curled around him is what saved him, because he probably would have froze to
he was
death
just as warm as could be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the wind blowing over top of him. And he was sitting curled up right on the belly of that horse.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And, how old were you then?
Oh, I probably was 12, 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it still solid enough to go up the stairs upstairs, or not?
Oh, you probably could. All you got to do is open the door and go up there.
So your bedroom was downstairs, though, here for the most part, then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mom, she kept boarders here, and they slept up the stairs.
Oh, so that was the way she made extra income. People came and boarded here? Yeah. Is this where you guys hung the leather britches for the fall, for the beans? Or was that downstairs?
It's downstairs.
Was downstairs. Yeah. So this was just pretty much bedroom space, or if you had boarders for sleeping?
Yeah, there was a a bed here, and then one on that end. And that's where the guys slept.
Oh.
It's hard to believe that we lived in here.
Yeah. Where did Grandma store all the canned goods, like when you guys put up all the food for the winter?
That was a red house out there.
Oh, this was?
And there was ties all the way around, like on that wall. Mm-hmm. And then there was ties across the front here. And windows, double pane windows, was on the opening out there.
So that's where she kept all of the food at then?
Yeah.
The majority of it. Yeah. Gotcha.
See, that's cement in there.
Yeah.
Cement floor.
Okay. So that was the storehouse.
Yeah.
Now, I know Grandma did some canning, but you said one of the main ways that you guys preserved the green beans was doing leather britches, right? Or one of the ways? Yeah. So
then she canned a lot.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, what's a leather britch?
Well, you pick the green beans, and then you strung them, and then you took a needle and a long thread, and you run the needle through the beans, and then you hung them up and dried them. And then when in the wintertime, you soak them, and they would almost come back to the original color. And that's what they call leather britches, because they were kind of chewy, and which had a pretty good flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did Grandma just string them up over the stove areas where the heat would rise to help them dry faster?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So it's kind of like a bean garland, basically.
Pardon?
It was like a bean garland.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just dried that way. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So where was the garden spot then from that?
Right over there.
Just right out the front?
Right across the road.
Oh, it was over across the road in the field?
Yeah. But see, when this cabin was built, it was only come to right about here.
It did?
Yeah.
And then that part was added on?
Yeah. And I didn't know that until, see the door used to be here. See that?
Yeah,
I see that. It goes all the way down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Who built that on then? Because it was before you guys came here. It was added on. Yeah. You guys didn't add it on.
And there used to be a window right there.
Huh.
And then Dad, he later changed it.
Yeah. Sure is peaceful.
And if you got to go to the bathroom, you use that little house right there.
What'd you guys use for toilet paper?
Catalogs. Sears and Roebuck.
Nobody's wanted advertisement for a year. Nothing's changed. The Sears Roebuck catalog was, yeah. So there was no toilet paper shortages.
Montgomery Wards, too.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's a lot different now.
Yeah.
Life. And it's easier right now. Russ Taylor and I was talking the other day, and he's 2 years older than I am. And he said they never owned a car until he was 20, 25 years old.
Yeah.
They just had horses.
They just had the horses?
Yeah.
Did you guys have a vehicle or just the horse? When you were growing up, must have just been the horse.
Well, we had horses to start with.
Yeah.
And then Dad, he had a 29 Chevy. And then he upgraded there and had a 31 Model A sedan.
Yeah.
Boy, we thought we was really going to town.
You thought you were up class then?
Oh, yeah. And then he got a 41 Chevy 5-passenger coupe, and I've always wanted one, and I would buy one today if
you came
look
across
at the
them? Cottonwood.
Cottonwood.
It's almost like it's snowing.
And I would buy one even today.
Yeah. Well, when you guys had the horses, did you have a wagon then? Or did you just ride the horse if you had to go somewhere? But if it was a family, you guys just walked?
No, we rode the horse.
Just rode the horse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We usually had a team.
Mm-hmm.
Bess and Bob was the horse's name. Yeah, it was a different time.
Yeah. You miss it?
It was hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Don't stop.
I won't stop. Whew. Happy for 4-wheel drive, I'll tell you that. Well, thank you for letting me film you and sharing that with everybody. I know you're not always keen to be on camera, so I appreciate it.
No.
Thank you so much for joining me and my dad for that very special tour and stories. I think it's so important that we capture these memories of times past, especially from our older generations. I know when I was a teenager, my dad's mom, my grandmother, passed away, and I had written down some of the stories that she used to tell me about when she was a little girl, because I wanted to be a writer from the time I was 8 years old. And so I had actually written down some of her stories, so I still have those. But as a teenager and back then, video cameras, they were a thing, but we didn't have one at the time. So if you have older family members or even just older people that you know, I highly encourage you, go and get their stories on camera or at least record them so that you have them. Otherwise, so much of this knowledge is lost, and not only like local, like my dad was sharing us stuff that has, if you're a local, then you would have a lot more understanding or recognize some of that, but even just the general life knowledge from that time period, so much of that is going to be lost. So much has been lost, and even more of it will be lost if we don't capture it and share it with others, because I think there's so much to glean from that way of life that we can apply even to our modern lives. Now, if you want to listen to the podcast episode I did with him, where he talked about some of the things that I shared you today, but even other stuff that we didn't get into, I will link to that. You can go to the website and listen to that podcast episode. And then as far as the Tar Heel green beans, where he was talking about the leather britches, those are the green beans that my grandparents brought with them from Appalachia out here. And we've been seed saving for generations and over 100 years in my family. And you can watch the video on how to can them, and then also what they look like and growing them in my garden where I do the vertical gardening for pole beans.